everyone, welcome to Costa Rica Travel XM. My name is Eric Salazar. I am the Program Development Manager and Sales Director of our company, Destination Management Company. Welcome to our first module of the series 12 series webinar. Today is the Central Valley. Let's go with the intro. Well, as I announced, this is our webinar series. We have a total of 12 going by region of Costa Rica, this beautiful, amazing Central American country. So welcome on board to all of our travel agents, to all of our travel advisors, and of course, travelers who are joining this amazing adventure to in this Central American country. Let me get started by telling you that Travel XM stands for Travel Experience Management. We do not just promote tours, we promote experiences, and we make possible experiences for travelers and citizens of the world, global citizens, to think wisely in choosing one amazing destination, which is Costa Rica. Actually, Costa Rica, let me get started by saying today we have the Central Valley Discovery. We will study a little bit what is the history of Costa Rica in the background, but mostly getting deep into the cultural heart and the gateway to adventure, which is the Central Valley, mostly where you will arrive at San Jose SJO International Airport. Of course, Costa Rica, in here we speak Espanol or Spanish, and possibly you know that the currency is called Colón, just like Christopher Columbus, Cristobal Colón. Equal 500 colones is $1. But also take a look to these features that we're showing here. How come we have the flag of Spain? Well, let me tell you that back in the day, when Spain, the conquistadores, arrived to the American continent, and they arrived in 1502 to an island in Costa Rica's Caribbean side called Uvita, or Little Grape. Well, that's why we speak Espanol. Maybe. Maybe that's why also we were under the administration of Spain for so many years. So the Spanish we speak, let me tell the story, it's mostly coming from Castilla de la Mancha and Andalusia. Most of the Spaniards that arrived to Costa Rica back in the day were peasants and farmers from the center of Spain country, and not very much like conquistadores. The conquistadores were looking for gold, and that's why they established and separated Central America, Mexico, and South America into three main hubs for them to conquer, right? So basically, let me explain to you what happened. Just before getting started to go deep into the Central Valley of Costa Rica, where the colonial sites are mostly, okay? Well, this is the neighborhood. Central America today is shaped into a land bridge that 3.5 million years ago formed by volcanic activity, and this is part of the Pacific Belt of Fire, okay? So we are land of volcanoes as well as the rest of Central America. But let me tell you what happened. Of course, Costa Rica, as well as the other 4 Central American countries, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua, were under the domain of Spain, and they call it a province of Spain called Capitanía General de Guatemala. So Guatemala was the capital city of Central America, and the rest of the countries were considered just territories that were under this domain. Of course, Spain and the Crown of Spain established Central America in order to search for not specifically spices, but mostly looking for the valuable gold. As you know, the Aztec Empire and the Mayan Empire, they will use artifacts that are related to gold, and that today we're going to see that are present in some museums in Costa Rica, partially what the inhabitants, the pre-Columbian culture, so before Columbus culture arrived. So right here, let me explain to you that when we got the independence from Spain in In 1821, we got also that each of these little territories named today countries were going to be independent. In 1821, we formed, in 1826, we formed the first Central American Federation of Republics that were actually shaped by Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica. As you can see in the map, Costa Rica was the southest of these countries, the least populated, and guess what? The country with the minimum search and sightings of gold. So we did not have as much gold as Guatemala and Honduras and the other Central American countries. So that's why the Civil War that happened between 1826 and 1829 was because they were handling the power. We didn't know how to be countries. We were just territories, and we had actually administrators from the Crown of Spain in our so-called today countries and republics. So primarily, the deep conflicts were mostly ideological divisions between the power of conservative and the new federation. So they ended up dividing the whole countries as instead of provinces. So it didn't work, basically. And guess what? We speak Espanol, very different from the rest of the Central American and South American countries, due to that since we were not a country with a lot of gold, they did not send conquistadores to collect the gold by force, forcing the primitive people or the pre-Columbian or the Aborigines to give the gold away, but mostly was sent small groups of farmers and peasants from Castilla-La Mancha and Andalusia. So that's why the Spanish that we speak in Costa Rica is very much like Castilian, not too much mixed with the native languages. Even we do have native languages still existing and indigenous reservations. The language that we preserve is very much flat Castilian language. Let me go to talk to you about what is Costa Rica's history of being so different from the rest of Central American countries. Let me tell you, we do have a peace solid standing democracy since 1948, the foundation of a second republic that abolished all what was the military assets. So with this practical event, the country was free of military conflicts, free of military practices. That's why the small country, as small as West Virginia or as small as Lake Michigan, decided to to encounter a different path in the political, economical, and social stability. So that's why the country started converting into a small separated territory with the different ideologies, and of course, managing the respect to each other, managing the respect to our natural resources, and the human rights of respect. Today, the country is very prosperous, having that we do have so many things that are different from our brothers and sisters from the rest of Central America. Well, we don't have an army. So all the money invested in the army time before 1948 was going to be invested in social healthcare, socialized healthcare, and also education, public free and compulsory free education for all the citizens of Costa Rica. We are the environmental world leader in competitiveness for conservation and sustainability. So that we sustain more than 54% of our territory is forested, and almost 29% of the territory is protected under national parks, biological stations, and biosphere preservation territories. We do have availability of electricity and internet up to almost 100% of the country. Wherever you go, you will find mobile service. We are actually being characterized to be happy, friendly people. We have a philosophy of life that we express with one saying called Pura Vida, meaning pure life. It's not just the meaning of the words. It's basically a whole lifestyle. We do not worry too much in the problems, but we focus in the new outcome after conflicts. The country has 98.7% of literacy. So that reflects very much what was done in the investment of forming a great educational system. And of course, almost 78% of the high school graduates are bilingual. So this is great. This puts us in a very good um, uh, position in the world scope into what is investment. We also are a country of traveling and tourism. We have our natural resources, but also is a free, safe country to travel. You can actually find in the social progress imperative in this action how Costa Rica is located ranking and also in the Well-Being Economy Alliance. Let me tell you also about something else about Costa Rica being the Central Valley starting today as the webinar. The Central Valley is basically formed, as you can see, the map of Costa Rica is shaped with the Guanacaste mountain range, Central Volcanic Range, and Talamanca mountain range. In the center, you see San Jose, Alajuela, and Cartago. Right there in the center of the country is where the colonial settlers established the first colonial cities, such as Cartago, our first metropolitan area. But let me go little by little. What can you do if you actually land in the airport, International Airport Juan Santa Maria SJO? This is the main hub, the main international airport. We have two. The International Airport of Juan Santa Maria will hold and will welcome 70% of our travelers inside. So let's discover what is there to do. If you're just coming for a few days, or if you're coming to a corporate event, or you're coming for business, what is there to do if you stay in San Jose or nearby the Central Valley? Well, the Central Valley becomes alive every time. It's home to almost 70% of the population and is located over 3,000 feet, 3,200 feet above sea level. It's surrounded by majestic volcanoes, world-class rich coffee, colonial history, and authentic Pura Vida culture. In San Jose, Alajuela, and Cartago, and Heredia, which are the 4 provinces of the 7 provinces that converge in the Central Valley, we will find so many things to do. Volcano visits, museums, markets, plazas, nightlife, coffee tours, artisan crafts, rainforest adventures, valleys, cloud forests, waterfalls, etc. So right here in this webinar, I'm going to show you the main, most important iconic sites that you can visit while staying at the Central Valley. And number 1, let's talk about San Jose as the capital city. But the Central Valley is not formed only by San Jose. Let's say that we in Costa Rica are 5.2 million inhabitants, of which 3.5 million live in the Central Valley. So we talk about Alajuela, which is the first land of Costa Rica you touch when you land in San Jose SJO Airport. Then we have San Jose, the capital city, lively commerce and history and culture. But also we have Heredia on the north, where you see the mountains, and Cartago on the eastern part of the valley. Let me go ahead and tell you that in San Jose, if you stay, there's so many iconic hotels. Many of the colonial buildings have become small boutique hotels, as well as Airbnbs or small hostels, because the size. Back then in the colonial time, in the 1900s, 1800s, when they were built, 1890s, 1897, when this beautiful National Theater was built, there was not much around but coffee plantations and a few small neighborhoods that were more colonial, where the owners and owners of coffee used to live. Okay, so we're going to see one small neighborhood, colonial neighborhood. Let's say the National Theater is not only a theater, it's a place that encounters a lot of activities related to our history. It's actually part of the tangible cultural heritage of Costa Rica. Just nearby it is called, there's a place called Plaza de la Cultura, or the Culture Plaza, a nice place where you can find the pedestrians 11 blocks of pedestrians street, which is the Central Avenue. But also it was built in between 1890 and 1897, funded by coffee and some other export product taxes. It's a jewel architecture, marble statues, and lavish furnishing. There's guided tours inside just to tell the history of it. There's also is the hub where the government uses currently for international a high-class visitors or government entities of other countries, diplomatic meetings as well. And also they have in the outside the cafetín, which is the elegant coffee or cafeteria house and the entrance, right at the entrance of the National Theater. With this said, also there's other things such as museums. As I told in the beginning, Costa Rica was not much into, there was not many inhabitants that were indigenous groups. We had mostly semi-nomads and nomadic groups of indigenous people, as we do have today. But most of them did not encounter much with the relationship with other colonial sites or colonial citizens or cities or towns or peoples from the rest of Central America. So we were basically finding isolated small Aborigine groups. The Jade Museum is actually one of the finest collections in jade. Remember, there was gold, jade, and other stones and precious stones, as well as the clay handmade artifacts for ceremonials and rituals they used to use. The Jade Museum is present right in the Plaza de la Democracia, and it's an amazing place to visit. It's actually converted into a brand new building 4 years ago. It used to be in a different building, so it is a great place to visit with a $9 entrance fee. Besides this, let me also tell you about the Pre-Columbian Gold Museum. We will talk about the different artifacts that were selected and were rescued from private hands and become and belong to the countries in heritage and history. So here you can learn about the gold totems and artifacts, the Chorotegas and Borucas, indigenous peoples as well. And it's found in the undergrounds of the Plaza de la Cultura, right in the central pedestrian street of San Jose. So these are things you can do. These are places you can visit within one full day and learn about the history of Costa Rica. Later on, we're gonna go to the outdoors activities that you can do, not even an hour away from San Jose heart. Okay. Also, let me tell you that the National Museum of Costa Rica is actually the main hub for history and the whole colonial period of pre-Columbian and colonial period of the country. It does also have where used to be the armory. If this used to be the first headquarters of the military. So all of the military buildings, this is very awesome that all the military buildings in Costa Rica, once we abolished the army, they became museums or cultural centers for learning and science. So this is the Bellavista Fortress, which is the old military barracks, and today is the National Museum. There is a butterfly garden in the armory, what used to be the armory, and there is a beautiful butterfly garden with more than 11 species of butterflies that are found all around the country. You can find them right there at the National Museum. Let me move now to the Central Market. Who does not enjoy going to a central market where the real Costa Rican culture can be found, the real language, the real interactions, fruits and vegetables freshly harvest every day, fish, beef, pork, chicken, everything. Anything you can imagine could be in a market, you can find it in our central market, which is one entire block. It is actually a great place where to taste our real Costa Rican food, such as the casado, ceviche, or empanadas. We can sample fresh fruits and juices, and it's actually one of the first ice cream shops that used to be existed in the country's history, called Sorbetera Lolo Mora. Actually, here you can find spices, souvenirs, and coffee. Some of the great places to get coffee for you to take home is the Central Market. So the Central Market is a cultural historical patrimony since 1888, has been in the same location, and today it's an amazing place full of color, by the way. As well as you can also visit our colonial neighborhood. The colonial neighborhood of Barrio Amon or Barrio Otoya. Barrio means neighborhood. You can find some of the most iconic colonial Gothic influences, colonial architecture or Baroque neighborhoods that still exist in San Jose for a walking tour, for example. And many of them are art galleries, many of them are Airbnbs or little hostels or even souvenir areas. Some of them are cafes or cafeterias. And they actually reflect very much how San Jose used to look like, not so colorful, but the whole architecture has been preserved for the goodness of the history. Now, while in San Jose, you can also enjoy one amazing park, which is so-called the Lungs of San Jose. If you are around the western part of the central part of San Jose, you can find La Sabana. Sabana is just as an African savanna, a whole big area, a flat area. This is a metropolitan park, which is 72 hectares, over 150 acres of land that is dedicated just for the entertainment, also on the sports facilities. It also has one museum that we're going to see next. And this whole extension of flat area, before being a metropolitan park, used to be our first airport. Before 1955, we did not have the International Airport SJO. It used to be Aeropuerto del Coco, and it used to be in the center of San Jose. But it became too small for what Costa Rica was about to experience and the growth of visitors, investment. And so this was the former airport. Now let me show you where actually most of local people will visit here, Museo La Salle or Museum of Costa Rican Art Museum, but also it's mostly the place where the people who live in the Central Valley will choose to have, to go with families on weekends. And it has the lagoon, it has swimming pools, it has the skate park, it has the National Stadium that you can see on the left picture, but it is a place also where you can jogging or cycling, etc., or picnic, or even horse riding in the same park area. Now, I told you there used to be the airport. Well, you see that picture in the center below in the center, that used to be the control tower of the airport. Today is the Costa Rican Art Museum. It's beautiful, preserved Spanish style architecture with more than 6,000 works of Costa Rican art. So Costa Rica is very artistic. When we had the coffee growing families being very wealthy, many of their children that today are our grandparents, many of those children went to study to Europe, arts or architecture or commerce or etc. or language. So today you find a lot of pieces of art, and these places also become open to national primary school students and secondary school students to admire, preserve, and value the Costa Rican art in many different ways right here. Outside of the central plateau, let me tell you that before going to the outdoors, going to the volcanoes and rainforests, let me show you the Museo de los Niños, or Children's Museum. This used to be our second, it used to be a penitentiary or a jail. But before, it used to be our second headquarters for the military. And as you can see, it has that colonial style, and it has also the whole, shooting towers and everything. But today is a learning center, is the home also of the Costa Rican science institution as well. There has an art gallery as well, and it's more like a hands-on taste, listen, touch. It's very interactive science and technology exhibits as well. And so many school groups of Costa Rica go there, mostly children, smaller children, to learn about science and culture in general. Let's go outdoors. When we go to Barrio Escalante, live in the center of San Jose City, we will experience what is also the neighborhoods that have to do with foodie tours. A lot of small settlements of original Costa Rican food, and that you can do just walking from the center of San Jose. 4 or 5 blocks away, you find also a Chinese neighborhood, but also you find Barrio Escalante to be located at the San Jose mostly hippie neighborhood, as we can call. There's a lot of art, a lot of murals, and a lot of things that have to do with characters of Costa Rica, that have to do with sports, have to do with with art and has to do also with government. There's a few government buildings in the surroundings, so there's a lot of criteria exposed in the walls of Barrio Escalante. When we also talk about Museum of Contemporary Art, it's actually today um, the National Liquor. It used to be our National Liquor Factory, imagine that, and today is the National Cultural Center. It's also mostly contemporary art and designing. It's just located by the Costa Rican National Library. Also a great place to visit to learn about Costa Rican culture. When we speak about Alajuela outside of San Jose, we normally see this image of the one of the greatest craters of an active volcano in the world, called Poás. We're going to see that the Poás National Park or Poás Volcano National Park, by the way, all of our volcanoes are national parks, and that they enclose a lot of forest protection and the preservation of the science, the studying of volcanic activity. It's located only 37 kilometers. That's like 20 miles north from the San Jose, from Alajuela City. When you arrive to the airport, just 20 miles up the mountain and go up to 7,500 feet above sea level where the crater is located. It's part of the continental divide. It's amazing that you can stay in San Jose or the Central Valley anywhere, San Jose or Alajuela or Heredia, and 1 hour away, you are in one of the greatest volcanoes of the world. Besides that, also, there is on the way, you can do a coffee tour at Dock Estate or also Alsacia by Starbucks. Uh, in here, we find a family of farmers open the doors to the public, mostly to travelers that want to learn the whole process of coffee growing, from the seed to the plantation, to the picking, to the drying, the roasting, and the processing. You will learn and experience and even be part of the whole process in here in Dock Estate Coffee Tour, the full tour. It's amazing. It's another opportunity of a 2 hour tour. They also offer lunch, and it's an amazing site. It also has a butterfly garden, as well as having um, uh, what we call a garden of exotic plants in Costa Rica as well. It was actually opened in 1940. Let me show you something else you can visit, La Paz Waterfall Gardens. When I speak about gardens, you may be thinking about something you grow, and that's a garden. But in this case, this is not exactly that. This is actually a series of 5 waterfalls that are within a mile and a half trail. You can even be so close to the waterfalls and you can admire the primary forest. It's between Poás Volcano and Heredia province. It is a 70-acre reserve that protects the rainforest, but also has a wildlife sanctuary where you can actually see rescued jaguars and monkeys and sloths, and it has an aviary. So there you see birds like toucans, macaws, monkeys, etc. It has an insect garden or butterfly garden. They offer amazing lunch at the 2 restaurants they have, and it's a place to spend time, minimum a whole afternoon with lunch included. And so this is something you can do if you stay in the Central Valley. Or if you don't have much time, this is something we offer at also on the way to Arenal Volcano, for example. Or if you visit Poás Volcano in the morning, better to go in the morning when it's clearer, or exactly mix it or combine it with the La Paz Waterfall Gardens and the coffee tour as well. So now let me talk to you about the cradle of handcraft and artisans. Capital of Costa Rica is called Sarchi. There we have the Oxcar Factory, which is an intangible culture by UNESCO. A site. It's an iconic site, an interest, a cultural interest site at the Sarchi, the only place in planet Earth where you find ox carts that are handy painted is in Costa Rica, Sarchi. The coffee growers will use to design their ox carts painted, hand painted. So each family has its own decorations in order to exhibit them at the ports when they will transport the coffee, their coffee they grow at the farm, to the ports. It was almost a day, an entire day of a trip from the Central Valley in Sarchi all the way to the port in the Pacific at Caldera. So here is Intangible Cultural Heritage from 2005 UNESCO site, and is the home of the world's largest ox cart. This again is record in 2006. So this is a nice place to visit, by the way. Let me show you now what is Grecia. It's an iconic church, but also the flowing rivers and waterfalls of the town of Grecia in Alajuela. The Our Lady of Mercy's church is made out of metal, and it was actually brought uh, from Europe in the early days when Costa Rica was having or trying to build bridges and infrastructure in general means. So we had a great relation with Europe, mostly with Great Britain as well. And the church is made out of metal, and it was actually formed, and it's called Greece because it was designed for a Greek design in Europe, but it was brought to Costa Rica by ship. Actually, it was meant to go to Europe, but it was it was actually stayed at Costa Rica's in this town that is now called Grecia. It's an icon. It's a great place, and it has a central park. Normally, there's an orchestra, the Youth Symphonic Orchestra, and also there is a nearby. There is also another garden, topiary garden, from the Sarcero town, by the way. Juan Santa Maria Airport. Well, this is the first place. I should have shown this from the beginning. It's the central park of the mango trees in Alajuela port, by the way. Exactly. So this is, as I said, 70% of the departures and arrivals for Costa Rica to the Central Valley is at this airport. In the future, when we have our webinar series of Guanacaste Port, we're going to find, I mean, the Guanacaste Airport, LIR, we're going to talk about what percentage and importance that port has for all Costa Rica culture. On the way outside of the Central Valley, we will find that going to La Fortuna and Arenal Volcano, eventually we will have to leave over 2 hours and a half the Central Valley. So this is going to come when we touch that's the third, fourth region of Costa Rica called the North Plains and the North Fields. Cartago is our former capital city. It has the Irazú volcano, which is the highest volcano in Costa Rica, over 11,500 feet above sea level, to the summit of the crater point. Actually, it's called Istaru, but of course, the Colossus name changed to Irazú, which is an indigenous voice. By the way, very close to the archaeological site of Guayabo, and has recorded since 1910 a few eruptions, more than 20 eruptions during that time, all the way to 1963, when President J.F. Kennedy arrived to Costa Rica. So it has this eruption, and you could see from any part of the Central Valley, the eruption of the Irazú volcano, by the way. With this said also, in Cartago, we find the Basilica de Nuestra Señora de los Ángeles. It's the big emblematic Our Lady of the Angels patron saint. Most of Costa Ricans are Catholic, almost 60%, I would say. But in 1635, a small black stone was found resembling Virgin Mary. So they call it Virgin of the Angels, right? So every August the 2nd, over 2 million pilgrims will walk there from many parts of the country or drive in order to give favor and offerings to the patron saint. And this, related to all this virgin part of the Catholic beliefs. Well, it's a collection of miracles, the little tiny metal pieces that are found in the undergrounds, as people will bring and will have miracles and give favor and thankfuls and grateful for all of these miracles done. Okay, so this is part of the culture of Costa Rica, as well as the belief, and also it's a place where you will find pilgrims, over 2 million every year, every August the 2nd. Okay, so here we also find the ruins of Cartago. It used to be the Santiago Apostol Parish. Between the earthquakes of 1841 and 1910, this became ruins. So they have to move the church somewhere else in the same province of Cartago. And it's actually part of the history of the earthquakes that happened between them, by the way. Valle de Orosi is a small valley on the eastern part of Cartago. We also have right there La Represa de Cachi and the overlook of Orosi. There is also some thermomineral volcanic spring waters park right here in Orosi Valley, but also La Iglesia de Orosi or the Church of Orosi is an iconic colonial site to visit. Many Costa Rican people will go there as well, and also is a place of interest, an icon for that. The Ujarras ruins or the Church of Ujarras ruins also are part of that same colonial time conquistador Juan Vázquez de Coronado um, exploration of gold and founding churches in colonial Catholic churches in many different sites in order to make the presence of the faith in this case. Ujarras ruins are found. Besides that, the Lago de Cachi, as I mentioned, has an production of electricity of the Reventazón River. It's surrounded by a lot of coffee plantations and rainforest as well. And there is some kayaking and boats that can happen in there, fishing of the rainbow bass. And so it's a nice place where to go dining or lunch. There's a lot of offers in that. In the beauty of Lake Cachi or Cachi Reservoir of Water, by the way. The Lancaster Botanical Garden also, it's one of the greatest collections in the world about orchids. You know, Costa Rica has more than 1,800 species of orchids, and many of them will bloom every 3 or 4 years, not necessarily every year. So they're very conspicuous in there and the whole biology. Bromeliads, not only orchids, bromeliads, a collection of bamboo, more than 800 species of orchids in here in the Lancaster Botanical Gardens, not even an hour away from San Jose downtown. So these are some options of the jewel of the Central Valley and some of the tours that you can do, for example. And this is the thermomineral hot springs of Orosi that are found just about 15 minutes away from Mujarras and Orosi Lake. Also a nice place to visit, surrounded by nature with a great view. And this is natural thermomineral water. Remember, this water comes from the crust of the underground volcanic activity of Irazú volcano and Turrialba volcano. So they are loaded with minerals and really nice and enjoyable. It's a local hot spring experience, by the way. It's never crowded, so it's a great place where to go and find peace of mind in many different ways. Tapanti National Park is found in Cartago as well. And now we'll talk about Heredia. From San Jose, you can drive 45 minutes and find a modified ski lift. It's basically a ski lift adapted to the rainforest and is basically full of trails. Is a small park by the Braulio Carrillo National Park, but the ski lift also provides people from all ages and all conditions of mobility to have an opportunity not only to walk without walking through the rainforest floor, but also to explore the upper part of the canopy because it goes through different levels of the trees. And so you can see and touch the tops of the trees from the ski lift, modified ski lift, the aerial tram of the rainforest. In this place, you can find more than 135 species of mammals and over 500 species of birds. So this is an area that is amazingly rich in biodiversity. Many bird watchers, for example, or nature lovers or botanists will visit this place specifically for the wealth of nature and species, the biodiversity in general means. So this is actually one option you find in Heredia. Coffee Bread is also another coffee tour present in near the Central Valley. It's mostly handled, the whole tour is handled by actors and actresses. So it's very much take you back to 1820s when Costa Rica was starting to grow coffee and exporting this gourmet beverage to Europe. So they actually make it very interactive. They also have like a small theater they take you in, not only the plantation tour, but also show you how it used to be with the oligarquía cafetalera or the elite of coffee growers and what exactly happened and how actually it impacted the lives of Costa Ricans in the growth of the economy and the wealth of the economy, but also being the door for many investors to come to Costa Rica, not only for coffee, but also in everything else that you know today, which is ecotourism, conservation, sustainability, and travel as well. Basically, that's important. Barba Volcano, it's located in the province of Heredia. It's also mostly a rainforest hike, and you find this square lake uh, in one of the, it's an extinct crater of the volcano. Of course, this is not an active volcano, but it's a great place where to go and search for wildlife, flora, and fauna, by the way. The Indio Parque is actually a park that is dedicated to the learning of the biodiversity of Costa Rica. Has a botanical garden combining with a kind of a zoo environment, mostly educational, as a small park located only 20 minutes from the airport in San Jose, by the way. Exactly. With this, I wanted to thank you for joining our first session webinar for the 12 series webinar. This was the Central Valley of Costa Rica. Coming up, I would like to invite you to our next webinar that is dedicated to the Northern Fields. So again, my name is Eric Salazar, Program Development Manager of Travel XM Costa Rica. Thank you and keep watching. Bye-bye.